Hi there. Time for another weekly demo, even though it's been a bit over a week since my last demo. As a recap, the game Dare to Follow will be a single player top down real time RPG, evoking an old school feel of playing tabletop RPGs with miniatures. Pacing will be slowed down to give it an almost turn based feel, focusing more on strategy and exploration than button mashing prowess. For this week, I've been working primarily on finishing up wizard class abilities, their spell effects, animations, and tooltips. Let's take a look at some of the abilities I've put together for the wizard class. In the hotbar below, we see a little bit of a sampling of those abilities. First off, I spent a lot of time on the tooltips and building up the tooltip cards so that they are now specific to each ability and more the look and feel of what we expect them to be in the final product. In this case, we have a really nice illustration, uh, a new quote for the fire protection spell, and then an explanation increases the caster's resistance to fire-based attacks. Uh, One of the other fun ones, Firestorm. We have a really nice picture of a field of fire with a wizard standing in it. And one of my favorite Terry Pratchett quotes: "Build a man of fire and he's warm for a day. Set a man on fire and he's warm for the rest of his life." And so this ability generates a somewhat unpredictable torrent of fire racing around the battlefield. I will demo that later on in the video. First off, I also spent a lot of time on buff abilities this week. Anything that's self-cast and modifies the caster's attributes. For demonstration today, I have the fire protection buff. In this case, increases the caster's resistance to fire. And I have arcane intellect, which increases the caster's intelligence. So let's open up the character screen. In here, we see the character abilities. For this demonstration, intelligence starts at 10. Resistances, fire is set currently at 20. And so if we apply our fire protection buff, simply a double click, we get our nice fire spell effects, and the buff status is now shown in the upper right hand corner buff bar. And we get our ability description card there as well on hover. We can also see in the character screen that the fire resistance has gone up by, in this case, 1%. The ability is based on the skill level of the fire magic skill. So, yeah, 20.2 is what we've gone up to. And as that skill level grows, that resistance amount will scale with it. We can show the arcane intellect buff as well. We have a really nice butterfly animation that goes with that one. And again, our buff shows up in the buff bar in the upper right, and we get on hover our nice tooltips for that. In the character screen, the character's intelligence has been increased, and that will have effect on all spell damage calculations. I've also been playing around with AoE a bit this week. I really like the idea of area of effect spells, like in this case Firestorm. In the case of World of Warcraft, it's like Blizzard. Uh, but those tend to be static, like you tend to choose a location on the screen and it sets that location on fire. I love the idea of AoE that moves. I really like the idea of it moving in a way that if you're not careful, you can set yourself on fire. as a character, and that adds an interesting dimension to strategy and play when you're using AoE spells. So, as an example, let's show the Firestorm. I've been playing around with bouncing it off of things, and that actually works very well. So I still haven't finished the glyphs for my decals. I'm gonna get that cleaned up here next week, but fire that off in this direction. Boom. And you have to run away from the fire or you're gonna take damage from it. The firestorm uh, a damage over time. If you get hit with it, you also get hit with a dot on that. So that's AoE. Had a little bit of fun with that. Let's show that one more time. And I've cleaned up some of the spell animations associated with that as well. Something else that we added this week, this bar in the upper right hand corner of the screen is the creature enemy list. So every enemy that you have within line of sight range to your character, their statistics will show up here as a list of enemy bars. Uh, what I added this week beyond that are casting bars. So we can now see them as they run their spell cast. We can see what they're casting and how much time is left on that cast. So that was a very quick one. Magic Missile, super fast, and then Fireball is a 2-second cast. And so we can actually see the Fireball casting on that. That gives the player the ability and the visual cues to use spells that are stuns and interrupts. So as you see a creature casting at you, an enemy casting at you, you can then interrupt that enemy. And those were part of the spells that we put together this week as well. There's lightning, which does a stun and will interrupt anything that's currently being cast. There is also in the fire branch Sprite, which is an instant quick fire interrupt. And so, yeah, I think that concludes this week's demo. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.